Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars, and it's time for a Luthier's Quick Tip. If you'd like to help support this channel, visit eguitarplans.com and buy a plan. Now on with the video. Okay, so what is sanding sealer? You've heard me talk about it a lot, and you've probably heard other guitar builders and woodworkers talk about using sanding sealer. What is its purpose? Well, really, at least as far as I'm concerned, I use sanding sealer to do two different jobs. The first is in the preparation process. After I have sanded the wood, the raw wood, and have it prepared to accept finish, I like to put down a sanding sealer in an effort to help any dyes or stains or tinted lacquers that I might use to lay down and absorb evenly and consistently in the wood. You see, wood is a combination of closed face grain and open end grain. And closed face grain is usually what you find on the top surface and the back surface. And your dyes, your stains, and your tinted lacquers are just going to lay down on that top surface. They'll soak in a little bit, but for the most part, the closed face grain is not as absorbent. However, end grain is extremely absorbent. It's like a sponge, and you typically will find end grain around the ends of the wood and wherever you might have some angled cuts like this contour here, you'll find some end grain here. So when you apply your dye, your stain, your tinted lacquer, it's going to really soak into that wood. And wherever it soaks in, it tends to look darker. As a result, when you put your color down, it will look splotchy. So to prevent this, what we like to do is we use a sanding sealer and we will apply it to the surface of the wood. And then once it's dry, usually a couple of coats is all you need, I'll sand it off completely from the wood. Now that's going to remove the sanding sealer from the closed face grain on the surface, but it's going to leave it wherever you have the open end grain. As a result, when I put down my dye or my stain or whatever it is I'm using to get that transparent color, it's going to soak in more evenly wherever that open grain is as it does wherever the closed grain is. So the finish looks less splotchy. It looks more even and consistent. So that's one of the reasons. Now, if you're using a figured wood like quilted maple or flamed maple, this is flamed maple here, you absolutely do not want to put down a sanding sealer first, especially if you're going to be trying to pop that figure. With figured wood, the grain is running through the wood like a wave, and when they cut and plane the surface, you're exposing both face grain and end grain. And that's why you get that unique pattern. Well, if you put down a sanding sealer before you put down your color, you're going to inhibit that color's ability to soak in where that open grain is, so you're not going to be able to pop that figure. So what you want to do is you want to avoid putting your sanding sealer down onto figured wood first. Just put it down wherever you want that color to look really consistent. And that works with mahogany and alder, swamp ash, pretty much any kind of wood that you're going to be using for the base of your guitar body. But again, if you're using a figured wood, you don't want to use a sanding sealer or your wood isn't going to have that really three-dimensional pop to it. Now, the other use for sanding sealer is I like to use it as a primer for my clear coats, a clear primer for my clear coats. So after I've applied the color and that's dried, what I'll do is I'll spray 3 to 4 coats of sanding sealer over the surface to serve as a clear primer. And this product, sanding sealer, is formulated to be much easier to sand. So after spraying 3 to 4 coats of the sanding sealer, I can let it dry completely. Then I can easily level sand it, get it really smooth before I start to apply my final clear top coats. So those will lay down even smoother. And because it's easier to sand, I can sand with a finer grit of sandpaper. Normally, you would have to sand with like a 220 or 320 grit, but with sanding sealer, you can very quickly level the surface with a 400 to 600 grit. And that means there's less of a potential to sand through and into your underlying color. Of course, you still have to be really careful as you do this. And really, when I tell people to level their sanding sealer, I always encourage them to get to within about 80% of level, meaning it's not absolutely level, it's close, but that will reduce the risk of sanding through and into the underlying color, which can be a bit of a problem to fix. So hopefully that explains exactly what sanding sealer is used for. It seems to be a confusing subject among a lot of folks. So if you have any comments or questions, of course, post them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you enjoy the guitar building videos that I make, be sure to click that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications every time I post a new video, which is a couple of times a week. And as always, if you want to help show some support for the channel and everything I do, go head over to eguitarplans.com and purchase a plan. And even if you don't build the guitar, any amount that you contribute there goes towards helping this channel stay alive. So until the next episode, take care and I'll see you soon.